the Delmarvalous Festival.
Good morning to everyone and welcome to the Delmarvalous Festival for 2017. I have here with me on our stage this morning two well-known captains and community members from Delmarva. We have Captain Kermit Travers from Dorchester County in East Newmarket and Captain Stoney Whitelock from Deal Island. And these men are going to share with us a deal about their work on the water, working with skipjacks, both as crewmen and as captains, and also repairing skipjacks because Captain Stoney actually rebuilds skipjacks. We're really very excited about having them here today. They are what I call captains emeritus. They have quite a bit of history, probably more than the years that I am old because they're a little seasoned.
We ain't that old, Jane.
But we're looking forward to hearing them this morning. I'm going to ask Captain Kermit to tell us a little bit about where he's from and what he's currently doing now. And then I'll go to Captain Stoney. Captain Kermit, you want to tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you began working as a captain on the water on skipjacks?
I'm from Blackwater, a place they call Blackwater. I was, they call it Linus Road, but really it's Blackwater, same home that Harriet Tubman came from. How I started working on the water was because it was 8 head of us, it was 9 head with myself. I had 8 sisters, and I had no way of making a living for them, and I was helping my mother try to do what I could. Of course, when you're young, you only so much you can do, but after a while, I turned 13. When I turned 13, I started going in the crab house to start shucking a few oysters. I seen the guys come in on the drudge boats, and at that time, you could walk from one side of the river to the other side on a skipjack. And I thought it was something great. I always said, oh God, I want to get on one of these. I said, man, I can make some money. So when I started, they wanted us to go down Jersey, Port North, New Jersey with the Robin brothers. So when I came back, I had been drudging the sea for the state with Captain North Lewis. So he recommended me to go on the boat with Captain David Lewis, that was the Krantz. So I went on that with him. I didn't know nothing. I told him I didn't know nothing about no boats. He said, well, you want to learn? I said, yes, sir, I want to learn. I can make some money. I made money all right. So one Christmas time, we worked a whole week. At Christmas week, they say I carried home $27. And I said, I got to get on another drudge boat because I said, I'm not making no money. I said, these guys got me out here. I said, every time I turn around, a little bit of wind start blowing, he hollered, reef the jib, reef the mainsail, reef the jib, reef the mainsail. I got so darn good at it, I could run out there without putting my hands on a rope or anything. So, Captain Eugene Wheatley, my cousin, got me with him, and we started out, and I was scared to death. I was scared that them good captains, you don't stand a chance with a good captain because if you can't meet up to the standard, they lay you off. So whatever that with me, he said, are you good? I said, I don't know, sir. he said, well, I'm gonna try you for a week. And if you meet up to the standards, he said, you can stay, but if you can't, he said, I'll have to let you go. That put me in a spot because here the sisters and my mother and my father couldn't work. I said, I got to get on this boat. I've got to work. I got to do everything I can. He called for the jib. I run there down, tack the jib down. And by the time the guy got through hauling the back aft, I was just brought back there to him in reef pine. He didn't have towel with 1 or 2 reef pines. And we worked over on Cook's Point. Never forget it. That day we worked there, because at that time you could catch all the lobster you could before they opened up Old Rock over Western Shore. So asked me would I think about it. I said, yes, sounds good. I said, I don't mind working. He said, well, let's see how good you is calling oysters. So when I got through that day, it was 2 brothers, 2 working up forward, and I was working back aft. So I called more oysters than both of them put together. He said, where in the heck have you came, where you come from? Where you been all this time? He said, you beat 2 head calling oysters. He said, and you're a good jib man? I called for the mainsail. He said, you know what to do? He said, as long as this boat stand here, as long as I drudge, as long as I live, he said, you got a right to be on this boat as long as you want. So I said, okay. So I stayed with him till he died. He taught me everything I know about a drudge boat. He taught me how to drudge edges. He taught me how to watch for the flaws that when the wind was blowing. He taught me everything I know right today. And most credit I have to give to Captain Eugene Wheatley, because he's the one that taught me to be where I am today.
Okay, Captain Stoney, tell us a little bit about your community, where you grew up, and your exposure to working on the water and dealing with skipjacks and becoming a captain.
Grew up in a little place in Somerset County called Deal Island, and I guess they call that the home of the skipjacks now, because there's more skipjacks left there than there is anywhere on the bay. And I appreciate Captain Kermit sharing with us this morning, and all of his knowledge that he has. And I don't have as much as him, and I won't claim to have as much.
You're just kidding.
All my people was skipjack people, as far back as I can go. And I appreciate Captain Kermit again, you know, bringing home $27 up at Christmas. And I've heard those stories. That's all was talked about at Sunday dinner, was boats. This boat and that boat, and Mama didn't get to say a word. She just fed us, and it was that was all was ever talked about, was boats. And I heard my pop say, you know, he brought home $14 at the end of the season. And there wasn't nothing going on then until you started picking strawberries. You pick strawberries till crabs, till you got a crab. But like I say, all my family, and that's where I learned about the boats from my family. My daddy was a captain on a skipjack when he was 16 years old. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, I chose another route. I went on with a captain called Captain Kermit knows him, Captain Junior Benton from Weno, and he had a skipjack Geneva May, and that's the first time I was 16 years old, and went on one of them boats, and he both killed me. And I never had half the power with Captain Kermit. But I went into service and come home and started crabbing and working around the water, and the engine blowed up in my old boat, and I didn't have money enough to put an engine in. And my uncle said he had a job for me if I wanted it. He was working on these power lines for this company out of Richmond. And I did that for 40 years. I stuck with it. And then when I got done with it, I was very active in the skipjack races at Deal Island. I was the leader of that group that kept that skipjack. This year will be our 58th year of having a race down at Deal Island. And it got down so there's about 3 boats left in the race. And I started going around to these captains and just looking them in the eye and asking them to come, because we needed them there. And I got to know Captain Russell Dawes. Captain Russell never would come. He had the skipjack Catherine, and he had her for about 20 years. And Captain Kermit members, when a fellow named by the name of Mike Wheatley had her over his way, but he sold her to a fellow on Deals Island named Johnny Parkinson. And Johnny had her for 18 years, and he sold her to Captain Russell. Well, I just loved the looks of that boat. She was a beautiful, beautiful boat. Looked like a schooner bow on her. A real high bow, proud looking. And she was a big boat. And Captain Russell's getting up in years, and he didn't want to travel, so I wound up buying the Catherine. I'll tell you how I done it. I went home and told my wife, I said, I've always wanted one of these skipjacks. It's in my blood, it's in your blood. If you're born into it, that's it. But I told my wife, I said, Captain Russell said he'd sell me that boat. And she said, well, you always wanted one, why don't you go on and get it? And I thought about it, and I asked my son, I told him about it, my boy, and he said, well, why don't you go on and do it? Well, I still couldn't make up my mind. There was a lot of money, for one thing. And I was out to the cemetery, this is true, James. I was out to the cemetery, and I was leaning on my daddy's headstone. And I told my dad, I said, Daddy, this Russell wants to sell me this skipjack Catherine. He said, well, I don't know what you're worried about. He said, you ain't gonna get but one of these headstones when you're done anyway. So the next day I bought the Catherine. And I had some trouble with her. She was getting up in years. She was 100 and some years old when I bought her. And timbers rotting into her. She had a lengthways bottom on her. She was hard to keep afloat. But anyhow, I wound up rebuilding her with a lot of help. I had a shipwright from over to St. Michael's. He's well known in the shipwright business, Captain Mike Valalovich. And he had rebuilt 2 or 3 of these boats, and I hired him on. And it took us 4 years to rebuild the Catherine. So I got her, and I just kept racing, and I didn't dredge it. And I wound up selling it to my boy, and she's been back on oystering for 3 years now. And my boy is into her.
Interesting enough, I met a young man who worked as a crewman on the Catherine.
Uh-huh.
And his family name are the Taylors.
Uh-huh.
And they're from Chrisfield.
I see.
Yeah.
I
And
think
he's-
I met
and
him.
he wasn't aware that you had rebuilt the Catherine.
Uh-huh.
But I told him, he said, man, he said that's the first skipjack I ever worked on. And he's a young man, he's in his 40s.
Uh-huh.
So he didn't grow up around skipjacks, but he wanted to work on one, so the Catherine was the first one he worked on.
Yeah. So then I met this lady from Sweden. Her family was sailors, and in Sweden they take off a couple of weeks in the summertime or a month. And her family chose to sail. They sailed all around Sweden. She's a sailor. Well, I carried her sailing on the Catherine. She fell in love with the boat and I come along with the package. So I wound up marrying Katerina, and she loved the boats. And we were up in Cambridge, and there was one sitting up in the land there for 2 or 3 years, right there in that museum, Kermit.
Yeah.
Her name was the Helen, Virginia.
Yeah.
Familiar with it.
And it was somewhere around Valentine's Day. And
Perfect timing.
yeah, and she said, why don't we get that boat for her? She was all to pieces. You could take a good pair of tennis shoes and kick her all to pieces. She said, why don't we get that boat and do something with it? And we made the man an offer, and he took it. And I went up there in 2 or 3 weeks, and I wrapped her up with plywood, and I re-nailed her, caulked her, and I was going to try to tow her down the bay to Scotch Cove Marina in Chance. And so we got a little blow that afternoon, and stuff started coming off of her. The davits was falling overboard, and she was dragging everything. And but anyhow, when we got her in the travel lift, she just slumped like she was going to break right in two. And we got her over there and got her blocked up, and in 2 years' time, we rebuilt her. Everything on her, brand new, and took fiberglass and fiberglassed her bottom, up in her well, down her sides. She is just as dry as this table. So she's another brand new boat. So I wound up with another one. I heard.
You got 2 wives for one.
I wound up with
Virginia
the
and-
Skipjack Mini V. That's what I have now. We oystered it last winter. It's the first time she had oystered in 20 years. It had no oystering rig or nothing, but it was Skipjack was built on Deal Island in 1906. And I went to the city of Baltimore. I heard they wanted to get rid of her, and made them an offer on her, and I went back and forth to Baltimore for 2 or 3 weeks and got her seaworthy enough to get home. So that's what that's my project now. That's what I'm working on, the Mini V. She was built right on Deal Island, and like I say, in 1906, and I have her in perfect shape. We had a lot of work to do to it, but like I say, we oystered last winter. I don't know about the $27 that Kermit brought home, but you bring a little more than that home anymore, but it don't go nowhere. Pardon?
I'm trying to wait for a time to ask a question
Uh,
about Mini V. So is this,
Oh, okay.
is this okay
You-
time to ask that?
You certainly can if you like
Anytime,
to.
honey.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's
in that
okay.
sentence, but I knew I had to.
I'm just rambling on anyway.
I remember when Mini V was doing tours in Baltimore
Okay,
Harbor,
okay.
and I wondered whatever happened to her. So when did you buy her?
We brought her home last year on her 110th birthday. at Deal Island.
She's in Deal Island now.
Yeah, she's actually in Chance. And I don't know if you're familiar with the area or not, but that's just before you go over the Deal Island Bridge.
Right, yeah, I mean, I roughly know where it is, yes.
There's a little marina that sets up the cove, what we call Scotch Cove. And the marina is called Scotch Cove Marina.
Okay.
And that's where the mini V is located. Did you ever sail on it?
Yeah, I did, we used to live in Fells Point.
I say,
Area, so we used to,
and I bought her last year. I came, well, I bought her, I guess, in March.
yeah.
And
This is true confessions here. My husband, for 2 years, right after he retired, he was one of the captains of Mini V.
I see.
In tours out of Baltimore Harbor, roughly somewhere between 93 and 95.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually helped him on weekends, because I was still working. And we had a lot of fun.
I'm sure you did.
It was great, it was really great, and I've always wondered what happened, where did she wind up?
We have her, and we restored it. She's in.
So are you oystering?
Yes, we last year was our first year.
That's great.
It probably it did pay for itself,
Yeah.
but we have enough funds left over to keep maintaining it for another year.
Okay. Very
So
good. That's great.
yeah.
It's nice to hear that she came full circle.
I know, and I know where you're coming from, because I carry out some charters in the summertime myself, and everybody that I carry on the boat comes back feeling better
Yeah.
than what they did when they left the land.
Yeah, it was a good time. We had a lot of good times.
Yeah.
Over there, so.
Wonderful.
Sorry,
This actually may be a good opportunity to ask this question. Many people are aware of skipjacks and their purpose for oyster dredging, but not many people are familiar with the bodies of waters that you guys go out as captains on. Captain Kermit, you're from the Blackwater area. Can you share with the audience?
Well,
Some
when
of the rivers and bay areas that
when
you
I-
worked on?
When I first started working, we worked down the Straits, that was back of Bishop Head. And we worked there until we started catching up ours and started getting slack. Then we'd leave, go up, either up the bay, up Annapolis, or either work around Love Point, Sandy Point, some of those areas. Sometimes we used to work at the mouth of Magathie, on the other side of Magathie. And we worked like different places. Now, we caught oysters there, but in the winter time, I mean, after the oyster season was over, the state would hire us. We had to work for the state. We moved plants, moved oyster bottoms, move them from one bottom to the other, wherever they mark it off that it'd be a better bottom for the oyster to grow. We worked that. We move oysters
Is
there.
that part of seeding?
Yes, we done that there. Then when we left from there, we go to Jersey and work down Jersey. Kept work 4,000 or 5,000 bushel oysters, and then had to carry them. Some of the oyster boats had blowers where you blow the shell off with, but we had a shovel. We had a shovel. We'd shovel off when we were working for the state up here in Maryland. We had 30 loads a day. Them scows used to come in. Those big scows, we'd bush off 2 loads a day and run one. That was 30 loads a day. And by 2:30, we'd be in.
You said that you went up to New Jersey.
Yes.
Can you share with the audience the body of water that you worked in near New Jersey?
Port Norris, we used to tie up in Muddy Island. We didn't want to have to go all the way back to Port, to Shell Pile. We worked down there, Ship John Lighthurst on the other side, Ship John Lighthurst close to the channel. There's a lot of oysters around there. Then sometime when the oysters got scarce there, we'd go all the way down to Mall. You could look over and see Lewis, Delaware.
So you were in the Delaware Bay?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
What about you, Captain Whitelock?
Well, we always liked to work home, but it got so, like Captain Kermit's saying, when they get scarce, we'd have to go away. And we would go to Tillman's Island or Solomon's or Annapolis or the Love Point and tie up. But when I come along, we always tied up in the harbor of the nights. They used to anchor off, wasn't no harbors to tie up into, and they'd row a skiff ashore and stuff like that. They'd get some food or firewood or whatever they needed to keep going. But when I was coming up, we always, we was always in a harbor every night. Mostly Tillman, back in the 70s, there was plenty of oysters in the chop tank, and we tied up in Tillman and worked the Chop Tank River. We would work the oyster bars around in that area in the bay, Popper Island, Cooper's Holler, Old Rock, those places where we could get back to Tillman.
Layers, Meadows.
Yep.
Places.
Yep.
Cook's Point.
Cook's Point, Todd's Point, all up that river everywhere, and but wherever we could make a day's work is where we went, mostly. Yeah.
As captains, did you have the opportunity to meet some of your crewmen from other states that also worked in the oyster trades?
Well, Captain Kermit did, but I never did go down to Jersey. All my people did, because like I said, there wasn't nothing to do. You couldn't make neither cent until crabs started running. Well, my family always went to Jersey, and they would make that hustle. But no, mostly the only one I knew that ever come here was Captain Ed Farley.
Yeah.
Captain Ed owned
That's H.M. Krantz?
H.M. Krantz. Captain Ed come out of New England and come down here one winter and went with Captain Art Daniels up until Christmas. And then Skipjack come for sale to Stanley Norman. He bought it and took off. And that was 35, 40 years ago.
But would you believe that same boat you're talking about, that Stanley Norman? I was in the habit of being a captain then. I could have took the boat that won $5,000 for her. That when she up on Dawson when she caught a fire. He went to light a pipe, and the cook had the gas on and blew him clear, never overtopped the back of her.
I'll say.
And that Ed Farley, him and I, we've got very good friends. He bought he bought that, like you say, he bought that Stanley Norman.
Yeah.
Captain Willis Windsor used to own it. So he took he bought the H.M. Krantz. She was built in High Hog, Virginia. Also in 1952 or 53, the H.M. Krantz, the Krantz brothers rebuilt her. That was in 1951 and 52. At the same time that Arbor Parks was building the Rosie Parks and the Lady Katie and the Martha Lewis. They were built at the same time.
Yep.
And I'm the only one alive to tell Bertie today, the only one alive that ever worked on the Krantz. I was the first one, because she was put overboard new.
I worked on her with Captain Ted Webster.
Yeah, Ted, after Captain Dave died, Ted's father bought her for them.
Captain Clifton.
Yeah, Captain Clifton. Never forget him. A nice guy.
Yeah, nice fellow.
We worked at, and first thing I seen was those boats coming over Deal Island. I said, what the world? Captain Gene looked at me and said, hey, how would you like to work on her? I said, what? He said, how you like to work on the bowsprit of her? Reefing the jib. I looked at it. It was Robert L.
Yeah.
And I looked again. He said, here come another one coming out of the harbor. We were Georgia Sea down there then. And he said, there's another one. My God. I said, man, I don't want to go on no jib in that boat. And that was the Amy Mistress. They were big boats. My God, that was something. And I finally got a chance to drudge up in the river. We was up down on Peanut Hill, the back of Secretary in Green Point, where Captain Thomas Wallace was drudging her then, drudging sea. And I got a chance to get hold of her. I went to go about. I guess I must have rolled the wheel down on her after I went about. Must have rolled the wheel down on her too hard. Junior White had the rope. I told him I could jive her. Oh, that rope burned his hand. I mean, it just burned his hand. You could see smoke coming from his hand.
As captains, you all seen quite a bit on the water. Tell me about some of the close calls you had.
Good Lord. Well, one day, we were on Popper Island, right off of Tillman. A lot of people here probably know where Popper Island is.
Yeah.
But I was dredging with a fellow on the Geneva May named Captain Clyde Webster.
Yeah.
And Captain Clyde hollered at me up there on the deck and said, Stoney, check down that hole there, and this boat feels like she's got water into her. Well, when I opened that hatch, it was that deep in the hole. He felt her kind of lean over when he come about, you know. And we had a gasoline pump sitting on the cabin. And I pulled that twice and the string come out in my hand. That was done. So, me and this other fellow, young man by the name of Jimmy Cannon, Jimmy and I went down the hole with these Lord tins, and we started bailing with these 5-gallon Lord tins, and she was gaining on us. And I said, Jimmy, I'm coming out of this hole. I ain't gonna drown down here. And Captain Clyde was headed for Sherwood. And when we got to Sherwood, she settled right on the bottom. So we stepped out on the dock. That was it. And we had a gentleman by the name of, well, he was cook anyway. But his
Might have
suit,
been some of them Joneses.
no, he was a Beckett. Richard Beckett. You remember
Yeah,
Richard?
yeah, I know
Kermit?
Beckett, yeah.
But Richard's suitcase floated out of the cabin and it was heading out in the bag. And I said, Richard, there's your suitcase. He said, I don't need that no more. I ain't never coming on one of these no more. He said, that's about twice they've about drowned me. And Richard was getting up in years. He was 75 or 80, cook on the boat. And he said, I don't need that suitcase no more.
Captain Kermit, I know you've had a couple calls. It's serious as it is, because it's life-threatening. share with the audience some of the things that you've encountered out there as captain.
We was working up eastern side of Tillman's one morning, so they had opened up a place up there where we could work in that little place. So we were working. So the guy on the boat, he wasn't paying much attention. I heard Captain Eugene Wheatley holler, "Hey, get to the yard boat, get to the yard boat." He pointed up there. I said, "Lord," I said, "he's coming right at us." I said, "Holler." He was hollering at him, blowing his horn. That guy wasn't even looking at him. And by the time I jumped over the lazy board to get back and to slide back in the yard boat, she hit. So the guy working up for it, Buster Jones, he turned around just right in time. That anchor, you know, the guys down there, you know, where like to put the anchor over the bow split. An anchor hanging over the bow split. That anchor hit that 55-gallon drum, she exploded. About half high as the mast. And Captain Eugene said, back her up, back her up. I went to back her up, she was hung. The anchor had hung in the rigging. So everybody was looking, nobody wouldn't come to us, but Charles Abbott, he made up his mind he was gonna come to us. And Charles Abbott would help you. If the last thing in the world, he would help you. So everybody left because we had two big propane gas tanks on deck and had two in the hole. And we couldn't get the fire. The whole thing was smoke and fire, blazes of fire coming out. And everybody was scared that those tanks of gas were gonna blow up. So they stayed off, they were way off from us. And Captain told me, he said, we can just get this gas tank overboard. He said, we can probably stop this fire. We went down and got a whole mess of shirts, and Marion Johnson and I, we flipped it overboard. What did we do that for? You couldn't see nothing. We couldn't see it for nothing but blaze and smoke. The sail was on fire, the mainsail was on fire, the jib was on fire. And the captain said, if I could just get down that hole, if we could just get down that hole, stop the gas from running in the hole, he said, we'll be all right. I said, Captain, I said, let me get down the forepeak. So I went to get down forepeak, and the slide was jammed. So I took my feet and kicked it and busted the forepeak off, the hat, the shield over the forepeak, busted it off. By that time, the after hatch blew up never half high as the mast, where that far had went down and packed it. And I was told the Tidewater Fishery came there and put those two fire extinguishers on deck. And Maine was holding on to it, Marion Johnson. He was holding on to it. Police said, please, sir. Said, please leave my boat. We're all gonna get blown up. I said, Maine, I said, we gotta fight. I said, we gotta fight fire. I said, I'm going down this hole. I said, open the forward hatch up. They opened the forward hatch up. One but him, the captain, and I, because the captain wouldn't leave, and I couldn't leave him. And I was in between. I was in the way. I couldn't. I said, I'm not gonna leave him. I said, I looked overboard, and I said, heck, I can't swim. I said, maybe I'll stay here and fight fire. So I stayed there, and I went down the hole. I crawled down the hole, and when they all looking for the boat to blow right up, just looking for it to blow everything, just blow it to splinters. I went down that hole. When I came out of that hole, I had painted that whole hole. I painted white, pure white. And when I got out, I was so darn scared I couldn't. They had to take a screwdriver and pry my hands off the fire extinguisher.
Your wife is laughing. You all had incident on the Ida May in 2015, didn't you?
Yeah, we all with the
Oh yeah, Captain Whitelock was there as well. Captain Whitelock, you want to tell us what you saw during the Chop Tank races?
Well, I stopped. I don't know if Kermit and his wife remembers or not, but I took my sails in when I seen her upset, and the rest of them kept right on racing. But I knowed somebody was in trouble.
Yeah.
They was overboard, and I think there was 20-some head on there, if I ain't mistaken.
17.
17 head. But I took and dropped my yaw boat and went to them as fast as I could, and I think the only one got hurt was maybe Gordon dislocated his shoulder or something. But there were so many little boats close around that they got everybody in these little fishing boats and little runabout boats, and everybody was saved. What a day!
I was kind of surprised that Mrs. Travis, Captain Kermit's wife, could swim as well as she could. Because she was on the skipjack that Ida made that day as well.
She was. And I remember, she tried to tell me she wasn't on a while ago, but I remember. But everybody made it that day. What the Lord was looking out for all of us, and I know that just well as I'm sitting there.
Yes.
Not a soul was hurt bad, and nobody drowned. It was a miracle what it was.
I was trying to get her to the boat. The lady, the rest of them was standing out there taking filming me. Every time I try to get close to a boat to get some help, because I can't swim either. She couldn't swim and I couldn't swim. But she fell over in that 80-some foot of water.
Yeah.
And she said, "We're gonna drown." I said, "No, we're not." I said, "I got you." And she said, I said, "Just do what I tell you to do." But she did what I told her. Because when you're in the jams that I've been in on the skipjacks, because them skipjacks is dangerous. And you better know what you're doing at all times. So I learned a little something I've done the 35 years. I learned a little bit. So every time I told her, every time you get mouthful, just turn your head and spit it out. She didn't do it. We finally got aboard one boat.
Mrs. Travis, you wanted to ask a question earlier?
Yes, I was asking, we'll get straight down. Mr. Whitlock, you got these boats, what is you plan on doing with your boats after you retire and everything from them? You gonna put them in a museum, or you gonna let them stay in the shed or wherever?
No, I just wanted to get them back oystering, what they were meant to do, and like the Catherine hadn't been oystered in probably 15 years. She just sat at the dock, and now she's been back on the bay harvesting oysters for 3 years. And the Helen, Virginia, she's back on the bay. She's been back on 3 years oystering. And the Minnie V, she probably hadn't oystered in 20 or 25 years, and she's back oystering again. Yeah.
And Mr. Kermit, Captain Kermit, you said something about you being on the water all the time, but by you being on the water, do you get to go home, or you have to stay on the water? and work and dock and stay there? Or do you be on the water and go home every night?
No, we didn't go home every night. When you step foot, you could see Delmarvalous, you could see Coast Point, you could see all those places. You could see all those places. You see Sherwood, you see all of them, but you had to anchor out. But anchor, the reason why to anchor out because you'd be closer to your work the next morning. You wouldn't have to go a long way to get to where you're going to work at. So we stayed out from, like, if we leave home on a Sunday or Monday morning, we never stepped foot on land no more until that next Friday or Saturday. We had to stay out. We ate out. Whatever we had to do, we did it on the boat.
Okay, about walking on land and walking on the boat and walking on the water. Is it different walks?
Yeah, you better believe it. You better walk. you better walk where you got some balance. You see, you just can't get on a boat and just put your head up and just walk. You might get your feet tangled in the line or something. It's easy to get hurt on one of these, but you got to pay attention at all time, because if you don't, you could really get hurt. Take for instance, lower part of my back is busted up from working on the Ellsworth up on Sandy Point. Well, Junior White and I was working on the port side of the boat, and that evening it was a little slippery because it started freezing a little bit. So when I had a big stone, burnt like that, and burnt that wide. When we went for to dump the drudge, two men had dumped it together, pulled together, you know. When I went to pull my end up, and he went to pull his end up, his feet slipped, and it fell, that dropped all that weight down on me, and busted the lower part of my back up, my spine. So I was out of water for about 6 years, and loved water so much, I turned around and went back. Went back. I should have stayed off.
Was that the time you threw your wetsuit and your boots overboard?
That was down Delmarvalous on that same boat that the same boat that ran into us and caught all that far and themselves on fire. I was working on that boat then, and something said, "You worked long enough." Said, "By the time you quit." 'Cause I got so, when I had that back operation, I had no use in my legs like I wanted it to. So I said, it's about time me get ready to get off these boats. I said, I've had enough warning. I told the captain, he said, well, what you gonna do? I said, I guess I might have to go back doing exactly what I was doing when I was young. I said, I started in the crab house when I was 8 years old. 8 years old. Cracking claws. And guess where I'm at now? See my hands? Right back, cracking claws again. I can't get away from seafoods or nothing. I just can't get away from it.
Okay, I think that's a perfect note to wrap up.
Yeah.
Do you have a future generation do you have family that is doing this as well, or are you,
Who, me?
well, any of you?
No.
I do.
Well,
You do?
he does. I don't. Because I don't want my kids, none of them, my grandkids, I don't want them girded on the water. I don't want them messing around doing the things I've done, because it's dangerous out there, especially when it's cold, real cold. I've been out there, I've been so cold. You wake up and you go in, like up in Naples in the evening, and the next morning you look across, the whole bay covered with ice. I mean, covered with ice. You couldn't get down the bay. They opened up Chesapeake Beach for us that year. and we couldn't get down the bay because we got her towards past Greenleaf before we could get around, go around Thompson Lighthurst. The ice, that thin ice, cut a hole in the yawl boat. Then I had to dip water from out of Greenleaf all the way back in Annapolis before we get the boat up. It's not no fun out there.
What's your advice to young people, Captain Stoney?
Do what you want to do. You're only going through here once. Do what you want to do. My son, I didn't want him to do it either, but he loves it. They're still scratching out a living here. It keeps him closer to his family. He's a captain on the Skipjack Catherine. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. So why not?
So they're keeping the tradition alive.
They're keeping the tradition alive.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
We want-
beautiful thing.
I hate to cut this off because this is such a wonderful exchange, but we need to. And I want to thank Captain Kermit Travers and Captain Whitelock for being with us today. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here with you. And we have richly received your knowledge, and hopefully we'll get a chance to go out with you on one of those skipjacks in the future as well.
Thank you, James.
So again, we thank the audience for coming and participating and being with us today, and enjoy the rest of the Delmarvalous Festival today.
This way it's called sad. You go like in the mouth, just the most softest. So you just get a nice sharp knife with a point, and you just apply a little pressure, a little twist, and slide in. And once you slide in, you just twist it a little bit. And back here it's called the hinge. Once you twist it, it pops the hinge. Then on the bottom of it, you just slide in, so you got a heart on the bottom. There, and you just slide across. Top fell off, but it's still detached because it's got another part on the bottom. So you just take a little nip over it and slide it on the bottom, and it's detached.
I'm a breaker. This is called block. This is called breaking bar. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the ball on the side. Mouth will open up. You hit the little crack. That's the hinge separate. Like Mike said, you got water on one side and